Kramer ended up doing with my Doom Dozers.
Jerry, do you got any no material? It's gonna be the next big thing, Jerry, trust me!
Kramer! You're back! Where have you been?
Me? Jerry, haven't you heard? I've been topping.
Topping? With the Battle Wasp? Kramer, those cards are garbage!
We got new ones. That's right, we got new bees, Jerry! We got new bees, man! Jerry, we got bees, man! Jerry, bees, man! Jerry, bees, man. Jerry, bees, man. Jerry, bees, man.
Huh.
Good afternoon, Jank enthusiasts. I'm MBT, and this is 10-Minute Testing. I hope everyone watching this understands there's about 6 types in Yu-Gi-Oh! That are literally one enabler away from going from unplayable to one of the most broken combo decks of all time. In the past, those types have included plants, zombies, dragons, plants, rocks, plants, and now the case can be made for insects. As we jump into the deck, let's all remember the wise words of notorious child dater Jerry Seinfeld.
It's hip to fuck bees!
So here's the list, and no, I didn't build this. You can tell because the author remembered to include Imperial Order, a card that I react to, like Farfa reacts to Gage's progression decks. As always, I'll give you a background about the archetype, a little bit of a discussion about what I hope the deck can do, and of course, the card by card. But first, this video is sponsored by Yu-Gi-Oh! Pro Deck. Yu-Gi-Oh! Pro Deck is the pack opening website everyone is using for their progression series, but you might have missed it's also got a deck builder, a card database, and a wealth of strategy articles. I use it to post the Chalice Line monthly deck breakdowns personally. You know, when we actually have it. So with that, let's bust to bees. Oh, gross. Who wrote that? Oh, me. Yeah. Moving right along, TCG exclusive archetypes have always been a way for the creative team at Konami to really flex their muscles. Look at their previous archetypes. Monsters from the Divine Comedy, homages to Star Wars and the Wizard of Oz, modern takes on historically popular kaiju. Anyway, Beetrooper is an archetype of bees that are also troopers. That's it. That said, their individual monsters are incredible. Scout Buggy is free link material, Armor Horn gives you an extra normal summon and recycles your insects, and Invincible Atlas is a towers. Like the Afghanistan War, however, what the troops are is way less important than what they represent. These are the last pieces in a puzzle that's decades old, a playable insect spam deck. By combining these buggy baddies with last year's Battle Wasp monsters, we can assemble a strategy that's about 60% extenders, making use of some absolutely bodacious bugs that have been buried in bulk for the better part of a decade. I've swiped this list from X69420, the mind behind Shark Paleozoic, because it'll be a cold day in hell before I search for Insect on Dueling Book and read everything I find there. The resultant monstrosity is one of the hardest to play combo decks I have ever seen. Your lines are unintuitive and extremely changeable, your plays around hand traps aren't always available and depend a lot on your opener, and your end bosses are very unassuming. However, your boards are also customizable, your setups include some extremely silly monsters, and the looks on your opponent's faces when they realize they can't out Invincible Atlas are unmatched. This is definitely a deck for the duelist who wants the world to know they have a quadruple-digit IQ, and they refuse to use it to make the world a better place. So with that, let's get into the card by card. No two ways around this, it's going to be long. Usually I'm able to skip over a ton of individual cards because people are familiar with them from other decks, but none of this crap is being played in any capacity outside of Beetrooper. Feel free to skip this part of the video if you know what these cards do, but let's be real. You don't. First, let's start with our Battle Wasps. These cards are not new, but they are powerful. 3 copies of Sting the Poison. If it's normal or special, you can add a Battle Wasp from your deck to your hand, and you contribute another insect monster as a quick effect to target an effect monster your opponent controls, negate its effects until the end of the turn. Very powerful searcher, and also part of your end board. We've got a couple of freebies in the Battle Wasp line. 3 Twinbow the Attacker. If you activate the effect to special summon it during the main phase from your hand, you cannot summon anything but insects until the end of the turn. Cuts off your access code line. but none of your other monsters really care about it. Next up is Pin the Bullseye, free special summon if you already control an insect monster and burns your opponent for 200. It's a free win in time. Followed by Arablest the Rapid Fire, which on normal summon summons a level 3 or lower insect monster from your graveyard. Next up are the Beetroopers, 3 copies of Scout Buggy. This has a continuous effect that prevents you from summoning things but insect monsters, probably important so we don't have one more 1/2 starter. However, if this card leaves your field, you can once again get spamming. If this card is normal or special summoned, you can also special summon a Beetrooper Scout Buggy from your hand, deck, or graveyard. Beetrooper Scale Bomber is next. If an insect is normal or special, you can special summon this card from your hand, and if an opponent's monster activates its effect, quick effect, tribute an insect, and destroy it. Not negate it, importantly. Following that up is Beetrooper Sting Lancer. During the main phase, you can target an insect monster in your graveyard and one in your opponent's graveyard. Special this card from your hand, put the targeted monsters on the bottom of the deck. It's a great way to recycle garnets and keep opponent's monsters out of circulation. If it's normal or special summoned, you get to add a Beetrooper Spell Trap from your deck to your hand. And we've got exactly one of those we really want to be searching. Next up is Resonance Insect, and this card's broken. I really don't have any other way to describe it. None of these effects are once per turn, and they all plus you to infinity. If this card is sent from the field to the graveyard, you can add a level 5 or higher insect-type monster from your deck to your hand, and if it's banished, you can send an insect-type monster from your deck to the graveyard, except Resonance Insect. The insect you'll be sending to the graveyard a ton of the time is Gokipole, which if it's sent to the graveyard allows you to add a level 4 insect monster from your deck to your hand. Then, if the monster you added is normal, you can special summon it, and then destroy one monster on the field with an attack greater to or equal to that of the special summoned monsters. You can only use this effect of Gokipole once per turn, and we are playing with it a copy of Girochin Kuwagata. That is the optimal target for this, and I believe only came to the US in a speed duel pack a couple of formats ago. Next up, we've got a bunch of extenders, portions of the combo, and end bosses. Doom Dozer is really, really important as a search off of Resonance Insect that then banishes it. Godarla is, of course, a removal that is extremely searchable in this deck as well. Contact C is fire in very specific matchups and very accessible at all stages of the game. And Danger Mothman is, of course, an extender. After that, we've got our spells, 3 triple tactical talents. It really, really is a great card in this deck. Drawing 2 cards almost guarantees you're going to find at least one extender because so many of these monsters are so easy to summon. And the field spell for Beetroopers, Beetrooper Formation. Target a Beetrooper monster in your graveyard, special summon it. It can't attack this turn, and you lose life points equal to its original attack. We just need one of these because we're going to be searching it off of Lancer in order to extend combos if we need to. If an insect we control is destroyed by battle or a card effect, we can summon a token as well. We're playing a Called by the Grave, followed by an Imperial Order, and this card, Beetrooper Fly and Sting. This is a counter trap. When your opponent activates a monster effect while you have a Beetrooper, negate the activation, destroy it, and then during your end phase, if this is in your graveyard and you have an insect with 3,000 or more attack, like, say, Invincible Atlas, you can banish an insect from your graveyard, set this card. You have not lived until you trigger a Resonance Insect with this effect. After that, we've got 3 copies of Ash Blossom Joy Spring, 2 Ghost Bell and Haunted Mansion, and 3 Infinite Impermanents. In the extra, we've got a Zeus, we've got a Cicada King, we've got Invincible Atlas X2, this is functionally a Towers, Access Code Talker, Nightmare Unicorn, Seraphim Papillion. What a strange card this is. It gains 200 attack for each counter on it. You can only use one of its effects per turn and only once that turn. If it's link summoned, you put a bunch of counters on it for each insect monster used as link material. And the good effect, remove a counter from this card, special a level 4 or lower insect monster from your graveyard in defense position. Because this effect is quick, you can add the counters, pass back to your opponent, and then bring back an insect. Nightmare Phoenix is in here too, alongside 3 Beetrooper Armor Horn, one of the most pushed cards I've ever read in my entire life. You can't special summon monsters except for insects. You can only use each effect once per turn. During your main phase, normal summon an insect. Simple as that. Just put that Aeroblast in your hand, back onto the field. Let's get the combos continuing. If this card's in your graveyard, you can banish 3 other insect monsters from your graveyard, special summon this card, and banish it when it leaves the field. Can you think of a card that might plus us when we banish it? After that is Inzector Picofalena. I'm going to call this Pico because I know I'm going to screw up this name in the actual games. When this card's link summoned, you can discard a card, then target an insect you control. Equip an insect from your deck to it as an equip spell. The equip spell you're usually going to be equipping is the Resonance Insect. And then it draws you a card as well if you've already comboed off by the time you're making this. Finally, we're on Almirage for corner cases. So with that, let's jump into the games. Our first match is up against Magic Key, and this showcases the bread and butter combos the deck is known for. We're going to begin with a copy of Resonance Insect, then activate the effect of Twin Bow the attacker in hand so we can link summon a copy of Armor Horn. From here we'll trigger Resonance Insect for a Doomdozer, then banish those 2 insects for the Doomdozer and the insect's effect again. We'll send a Goki Pole, which is met with an Ash Blossom, no big deal, the whole hand is extenders. We're going to go Armor Horn into Scout Buggy, then Scout Buggy's effect to summon a Scout Buggy from deck. From here we're going to go into a Pico and trigger the effect of the Pico, targeting the Armor Horn and equipping a copy of, you guessed it, Resonance Insect. From here we can Pico to draw an individual card, and ooh, an interruption, that's nice. We'll go into Invincible Atlas and trigger Resonance Insect for the 3rd time this turn. We'll Invincible Atlas into a copy of Lancer, and then we'll activate Lancer's effect to get a copy of the Counter Trap to hand before activating the Graveyard effect of Armor Horn for the 4th time this turn, a Resonance Insect, and ending on a Papillion, which can summon back Sting the Poison. In draw phase, we'll activate the effect of Seraphine Papillion to bring back Scout Buggy, which is definitely part of the combo and not a misclick. Our opponent's going to begin with a copy of Terraforming. They're going to get an Unsealing, which they will then activate. We will Ash Blossom. They're going to normal summon a copy of Rescue Rabbit. We will Infinite Impermanence that, and they'll fire off a Preparation of Rites afterwards. They're going to go for the Betos Buster, using this copy of Mafte added to hand, sending the normal monster, and walking straight into Fly and Sting. They're going to activate Rescue Rabbit, and that's pretty much the end of the game. We can style a little bit, but why would we? We'll activate Papillion's effect. This time we'll bring back Sting the Poison for real. In order to get Era Blessed, go to the main phase, activate Invincible Atlas in order to summon from deck another copy of Lancer, trigger the effect of Lancer. We do still have the field spell in deck, go into another Invincible Atlas, and attack in for well over lethal. Our second match is up against Amazement Guru, and this showcases both an intense strength and an intense weakness of this strategy. The weakness is that while it has a pretty good matchup against decks that use monster effects, it's not nearly as good against back row heavy strategies. Thankfully, those are kind of at an all-time unplayable. The strength should become apparent in its own time. We're going to begin just like last time with the Resonance Insect and Twin Bow the attacker. We'll go into an Armor Horn and trigger the effect of the Resonance Insect for a Doomdozer. We'll special summon the Doomdozer and trigger the effect of the Resonance Insect to get a copy of Goki Pole in Graveyard, and this time we're actually going to resolve it. We're going to get the Era Blessed to hand, then we'll normal summon it, triggering its effect to bring back the Goki Pole. From here we can go into a copy of Pico and trigger Pico's effect, sending this copy of Twin Bow the attacker to the Graveyard so we can shuffle it back into the deck using Pico's effect, and equipping a Resonance Insect as well. That goes to the Graveyard. We'll trigger the effect of Scale Bomber in sequence with it, and get a copy of Contacting Sea. We'll activate Invincible Atlas to get a copy of Sting Lancer, use Sting Lancer's effect to add the Counter Trap, activate Armor Horn, triggering the effect of Resonance Insect one more time, sending Sting, activating Papillion, and then setting one and passing. This time we'll do it right. In draw phase, we'll activate Papillion, bring back this copy of Sting the Poison, and trigger its effect so that we even have follow-up for next turn. Our opponent is going to activate Pot of Prosperity, banishing 6, revealing off the top. Not really any starters, but a really, really good Floodgate in There Can Be Only One. We'll activate Amazing Time Ticket in order to get a copy of Arlecchino to hand, and then pass back to us. They're going to activate Teekboo, and we have nothing to say about it. We can counter-trap the Arlecchino, which means they don't have a monster in rotation, but it's kind of Invincible Atlas versus a Floodgate here. Thankfully, while we don't have any good outs to this copy of There Can Be Only One, our opponent doesn't have any good outs to Invincible Atlas. It is a Towers, it can't be targeted or destroyed by card effects, and there's very few things our opponent can do to get out of this lock. At end phase, we even get to recycle the Counter Trap, which means that it's going to be very hard for them to get off to the races. We'll go to the battle phase, attack in once more, dealing 3,000 points of damage, and backs to the wall. What are they finding off the top? Another Teekboo. So it's time for game 3, and you know what that means, a best of 3 versus meta. Our opponent's playing Drytron, and thankfully, we have won the die roll. We're going to begin with a copy of Goki Pole, then special summon this copy of Twin Bow the attacker. This is going to be a little different than it has been in previous hands. We'll go for the Armor Horn to normal summon this copy of Era Blessed, then bring back the Goki Pole. From here, we can send those to the Graveyard for the Pico, whose effect we will trigger, sending the Scout Buggy to the Graveyard to equip a copy of Resonance Insect. We're going to shuffle 3 monsters back into the deck and draw one. That's interesting. Before going into Invincible Atlas and using Resonance Insect for a Contacting Sea. We'll bring back this copy of Armor Horn, triggering the insect, which sends a copy of Sting the Poison to the Graveyard. We'll then cycle it out for a copy of Scout Buggy, rather than the Counter Trap. In this case, we are going to go into Cicada King. And though it doesn't seem like it, this is 5 interruptions. Our opponent's going to begin with a copy of Nova. They'll go for an Alpha. Next, they'll activate Zeta's effect. That's fine. I think we're just trying to keep them off of rituals this game. We're going to Ghost Bell the Alpha as a result. They'll Cyber Emergency afterwards for a copy of Delta. Then Gamma pitching the Delta, which we can respond to the summon of with Contacting Sea. Good luck getting to Fafnir now. They're going to go into Delta and then Verte Anaconda, triggering the effect, which we will respond to with Cicada King. We'll negate the effect and then trigger the second effect of Cicada King in order to summon from our Graveyard a Sting the Poison. This is another negate if our opponent allows it. They'll go into a Unicorn, and I'm actually not too beat up about that one. They're going to go to the battle phase, walk over Sting, and pass back to us. Okay, we should be fine from this position. We'll normal summon a copy of Era Blessed, use its effect to bring back the Sting the Poison, and then as Chainlink 2, summon the Scale Bomber as well. From here, we can activate Sting the Poison to get further extension in Twinbo the Attacker before going into Pico. We'll activate Pico's effect in order to equip a Resonance Insect from our deck, then Gokipol's effect to summon Girochin. We'll send that copy of Nightmare Unicorn to the graveyard, and our opponent will concede. So, it's time for game 2, and, well, we opened 0 hand traps against Drytron, so might as well move on to game 3. Well, we'll watch it play out for the sake of the ad revenue. Our opponent's going first, and in a hand this good, they elect to not play around roll. Fine, whatever. They're going to go for Nova into Gamma. From here, they're going to go into Alpha and trigger the effect of Alpha, adding a Ben 10. They're going to activate Gamma, pitching the Alpha and summoning it back before overlaying into a copy of Fafnir very early. They'll activate Fafnir's effect to send Delta to the graveyard, and then Delta in order to pitch the Zeta. Zeta pitching the Ben 10, and Ben 10 adding a copy of Diviner. They'll activate Diviner's effect. That's going to send a copy of Herald of the Arclight to the graveyard and add a Herald of Ultimateness to hand. Oh, we're not even going through the Taden line. They're going to go into Beatrice, sending a copy of Ava to the graveyard, banishing 2 in order to add an Orange Light and a Diviner, and then using Medionis Drytron to put it back into the hand, activating its effect in order to bring out the Herald of Ultimateness, making Link Haribo, Verti Anaconda, and Dragoon. Fun. Alright, so this is what? 8 interruptions? Let's see if we can do it. That's a pretty sick draw. We're going to begin with Twinbo. They're going to Herald. We'll Infip. They'll Herald. We'll Called by targeting the Ava, and they will Herald, okay? Exactly as they drew it up. At Resolution, they'll activate the effect of the Ava. We'll chain the effect of Sting Lancer, and they will negate with Dragoon. Cool. All right. Excellent. I guess we might as well normal summon the Scale Bomber, special summon the Bee, activate the effect of the Scale Bomber, and as our opponent remains with 1 negate in hand, just concede. So it's time for that all-important game 3, and God, we both drew bad. Oh, Christ. At least we're going first. We're going to begin with a copy of Gokipole, special summoning the Scale Bomber from hand. From here, we can link summon a copy of Armor. We'll activate the graveyard effect of the Gokipole to get a copy of Airblast to hand, then use Armor Horn to summon it from our hand using Airblast effect to bring back the Gokipole, and then link summoning for a copy of Pico. We're going to send this copy of Triple Tack to the graveyard, not particularly interested in activating it. I think the time for hand traps has come and gone. We'll activate Pico's effect, and then link off for an Invincible Atlas. We'll trigger the effect of the Resonance Insect to get a Lancer, then activate Pin the Bullseye's effect to summon itself, and then burn our opponent for 200. That's time of the round, ladies and gentlemen, followed by Invincible Atlas to get another Sting Lancer. Sting Lancer in hand is important so that we can tuck our opponent's graveyard, and Sting Lancer on field is important so we get the counter trap. We're going to bring back this Armor Horn, trigger the effect of Resonance, go into Papillion, get a bunch of counters, set 1 card, pass it back to our opponent, and in draw phase activate the effect of Papillion so we don't get triple tacked. We're going to get Sting the Poison, activate its effect for a Twinbo, and allow them to do their turn. Their turn involves going for Diviner. We can't let that resolve, so we're going to Sting the Poison right here. Afterwards, we're going to activate Gamma. That's right, Gamma, as the first thing you activate. They're going to go for the Verti Anaconda afterwards. We do have the counter trap to deal with it, and they'll pass turn. I think we have cleaned this one up. We're going to begin with a copy of Sting. We're going to put back our copy of Papillion in case we need to use it later, then activate Sting's effect for the field spell. We'll go for Twinbo the Attacker, summoning it to our side of the field, proceeding to the battle phase, prompting a concession from our opponent. So we're back with the deck, and it's good. It's not great, but it's also only 1 batch of support deep, and I struggle to think of anything else they could print for this archetype that wouldn't make it extremely playable. Let's do the pros and cons. First, the pros. 1, it puts up boards that are very specific. As Drytron's Herald, Dragoon, Beatrice end boards have proven, a diversity of bosses is paramount when comboing, and Cicada King, Sting, Contact C, and Fly are varied in both card type and type of interaction. 2, it's almost impossible to interact with. Single-use hand traps, though extremely popular in today's metagame, usually only trade for 1 extender, and this deck has extenders for days. And 3, the fact that this deck is playing cards from forever ago means you can take advantage of the fact that Konami used to not know how important hard once per turns were. Looking at you, Resonance Insect. And the cons. 1, the ceiling is just a little bit too low. When Drytron can make 15 negates uninterrupted, it seems a little silly to settle for 4. 2, the normal summon is really important. If people move from negates to removal, that might be a problem. And 3, I don't actually think it's hip to fuck bees. All in all, it's definitely already capable, but as more support is released and more combo lines are developed, expect this deck to be swarming your locals. So that's that. As always, thanks to my patrons Dominic Ernst, Hakuo, AJBYGO, Alex Perea, Andrew Eller, BB Poison, Blue Fan Fiction Inc., Brandon Field, Brandon Keys, Colin Miller, Crispy, Dan the Man Hoban, Dubs Rewatcher, Dying Eyes, Frosty, Ekaliba Brot, Jack Sack PhD, King Magic Ruler, Night Mary, Kylie Denton, Major Rusty, Mike Carlotti, Not Witty, Robot, Rocky Hernandez, Rose Lapine, Sarah Rutledge, Seeker, Space Condor, Space Dandy 1993, Test Subject 213, Adam Trevino, Adrian Bra, Adventure Spence, Afro Ninja 123, Alex Dominguez, Alfred Hendricks, Amaranta V, Andrew Benson, Andrew Ferruia, Andrew Horseman, Apex TCG, Ball and Stalin, Based Madoka, Benjamin Cole Kierman, Billy Williams, Blackacre, Blake Root, Ble, Brendan Peterson, Breaker the Outrage, Brody Colson, Captain Breadbeard, Cash Money Yuki, Chad Bortz, Chad Weatherington, Chase Smith, Chorps Away, CG Alex, Cole Schulian, Colin Gustafson, Control for the Win, Crystal Red Fox, Daffy Deathclock, Dan Schwer, Danny Guadalupe, Darcy Tevz, Dive Missile, Dogma, Dr. Batman, Distrin, LP Got Band, Sag, Emily V, Emperor Stove, Ernesto Ibarra, Fisker Whiskers, FUTR, Game of Wolf, Gavin K, Griever, Hank Cheesecake, Helios the Helios, Haroof, How to Lose, Josemina, Hunter Smith, I Have Nothing But Contempt for This Court, Incredibly Slow, Isaac Jackson, Jane Linya, Jason Leonard, Jay Gordon, Jeff Leonard, Jesse Cox, Jonathan Wallace, Jupe, Jose Luis Cortez, Joy Orjan, Julia Chulian, Callie, Kiffin Harshterway, Corey Hess, Gurakaze, Lake Bayer, Lawrence, Leah Lisblitz, Knight, Lottie, Lovro Plesse, Lucas Angles, Lucas Geerdes, Lucas Aritzo Hansen, Major Duncan, Matthew Taylor, Max Merb, Mezzo Emrys, Michael Marks, Michael Oskvark, Miles Edgelord, Mimes Are Creepy, Miyuna Arashi, Mr. Ease, Nick Extreme 99, Neru Soup, Nitro Skull, Nix Dolores, Node Pop, Noom, Omase, One Glad Morning, Austrin, Part 2, Pizer, Picnic Blasted, Precise Spike 13, Pro FB2, Chrono, Raska, Riley Malo, Sam Pinney, Sapphic Ashley, Scrafted, Sean Deal, Sean Flynn, Second Sandoria, Seraphine, Shy, SSJ Magin Slayer, Standards Objective, Steve McMullen, Swinkles, Tate Rosencutter, The Carl Moxley, The Saucy Pickle, This Machine 237, Thought Auditor, Violet Prison, Why Am I Here, Yordle Hoo, Yuri's Best, and Yukie. If you like what you see, please consider subscribing. And if you want to be part of the process, consider following me on Twitch as well. See you next time.